Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, and this is Saturday night's main event, number 37, on December 14th, 2024, back in Uniondale, New York, at the original site of the first Saturday night's main event. So, gotta admit, this one had all the nostalgia going. Every single thing you could possibly want here felt pretty special, so I'm going to give this a special double OK. But a warning, if we go to this well every single time, which it sure looks like we're going to in San Antonio next month, it's not going to be double OK for very much longer. But our main headline of the night is just keep remembering that winning doesn't make you right, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So first, let's go right down the card with just keep starting to pick them off, because Drew McIntyre fooled Sami Zayn by rolling outside and then back into the ring to land a Claymore and get the win. So Drew McIntyre is the ones, as he earlier had a nice spine buster then sit out powerbomb combo and eventually was just way too powerful for Sami Zayn. So he gets a much needed win after losing his 3-match series to CM Punk, and he improves to 10-5 in one-on-one matches. But for Sami Zayn, he attacked McIntyre before he even took off all of his ring gear, so Zayn will pick up his 4th fine of the year. But the ref again just called for the bell while Zayn was attacking McIntyre. So yet again, what were you thinking, referee? This is becoming an epidemic now. We really need this to stop. But Sami was crafty per usual. However, even a sunset flip powerbomb and blue thunderbomb were not enough to put McIntyre away, as he could not finish with a haluva kick. So Sami regains sole possession of most one-on-one losses in WWE this year, and he falls to 12-11. However, a good opening match to start the show and this new era of main event, so it will get an okay. Up next, we just keep saying I got this, because if you've seen one Judgment Day match, you've seen them all. Well, except for this one, as Liv Morgan leaves the Judgment Day behind and still sends Io Sky into oblivion to remain your women's world champion. So Liv is the one, and she had a nice backstabber then codebreaker combo in the middle of the match, and somehow was able to shake off a vicious knee right into her nose, causing her to be bloodied, followed by a bullet train, and she still had the wherewithal to get her feet up to stop an over the moonsault. So Liv gets her 5th successful title defense, as well as that DQ loss in the shark cage match. So she gets her 4th win in a row and goes to 10-4 in one-on-one matches. So Io is the 2s, and she landed a nice triple German suplex with a bridge pin attempt, but she couldn't get the win there, and unfortunately for her, she slipped off the top rope trying some sort of flying maneuver later on, and she ate a codebreaker for her troubles. And she may have been out of sorts a little bit after that, and she took too long to try that over the moonsault, so she takes her first one-on-one loss since May, and she falls to 7-3 in one-on-one matches. And of course, as Liv was going back to the entrance, well, Rhea decided to show up and make her presence felt that she is not quite done with Liv, so this will get an okay. In our 3rd match, we had the triple threat to just keep proving enough is enough, as Gunther finally decided he had enough of the former Judgment Day brothers to powerbomb Damian Priest onto the steel steps and then hit the T-Rex dropkick, followed by another powerbomb on Finn Balor to stay still your world heavyweight champion. So Gunther is the ones, and with the 3rd man in the match, he wasn't quite able to submit his opponents like he normally would with his Boston Crab or his really devastating chokehold, but he still had plenty of power moves in his bag to get his 3rd straight win, and now goes to 15-3 in all singles matches. And Damian Priest is the 2s, as he somehow found a way to Hulk up while he was being choked out by Gunther to land a South of Heaven chokeslam, and then later landed a second South of Heaven chokeslam. But in neither case was he able to get to a 3 count, so he falls to 13-6 in singles action, and that means Finn Balor is the 3s, and even though he got some help with Priest landing a razor's edge on Gunther, he followed it up with a coup de grace on Gunther, but still Priest was right there to send him South of Heaven, and then he took a powerbomb after that, so he falls to 1-10 in singles matches. So let's keep him out of this running for quite some time now, and let's see if he can maintain his tag team titles on Monday night. Still, despite a slow start to this one, I'd say it ended pretty strong, so we'll still give it an okay. Up fourth, we just keep painting the flag red, white, and green, because after Piper Niven soaked up all sorts of damage, Chelsea Green finally had a big enough opening to find a way into an unprettier and become the first ever Women's United States champion. But we got to the finals match by, in the first semifinal, saying just keep saying it's not the most punishing moonsault ever, as Michin shook off a prettiest moonsault ever to then immediately land Eat Defeat to get the win and advance to the finals, while Tiffy is the 2s, but she might be the prettiest Miss Santa ever. Though after that rolling senton, she apparently didn't hit the prettiest moonsault ever quite right, though I'm not exactly sure how. Nonetheless, she loses her 7th consecutive one-on-one match to fall to 5-7-1 one-on-one, so this definitely gets a double not okay. And then Nia caught up with Tiffy after the match, saying that not everyone is meant to be a singles champion, and then Candice rubbed it in a little more by saying that she got her and Nia a tag team title match next week, which apparently will now be against Bianca and Naomi, because those two met with Aldis earlier in the night, and when Aldis said he would have to strip Bianca of her tag team championship, she refused, and Naomi agreed to step up into her place, so Aldis said he'd take it into consideration, and I guess it worked because we know Nia and Candice have that match, so we'll give that an okay. And in the other semifinal match, we just keep making it unpretty, as Chelsea was ready after Bayley had to rush back into the ring after she was thrown over the barricade, and so Chelsea hit a kick and an unpretty her to get the win to advance to the finals. But of course, Piper was there plenty to help out, grabbing Bayley's legs earlier, which will cost her her 5th fine of the year. But Piper also had to take one for the team, getting an elbow drop onto her neck later in the match. But Bayley is the 2s, and even though she landed a Bayley to belly right off of the bell and seemed to dominate most of the match, she just couldn't quite fend off both of them at once, so she drops to 8-4-1 in one-on-one matches. But as for this match, it was mostly Piper's doing, as Chelsea distracted the ref early, allowing Piper to hit a sidewalk slam on Michin outside the ring, which will cost Piper her 6th fine and 2nd in 2 nights. And later, Chelsea went for a suicide dive, but Michin got out of the way, and she landed right on top of Piper, which then led to both of them getting hit with a cannonball off of the apron by Michin. But Piper still marched on for Chelsea, and yet still ate defeat from Michin outside the ring. And then minutes later, once she had finally recovered, Piper yet again got onto the apron to distract Michin, but she did pay for that with a dropkick. However, it was enough for Chelsea to land the unprettier. So yeah, Chelsea is your Women's United States champion, but she's really gonna be a great champion if she just has to rely on Piper doing all of the dirty work for her. So she found a way to win 3 straight matches and is 3-6 in one-on-one action. But for Michin, well, she landed a really nice double German suplex, followed by a springboard tornado DDT, but she just had too big of an uphill Piper battle to climb. So she does finally take a loss after 5 straight wins, falling to 5-9 in one-on-one matches. But, you know, this was a good hard-fought battle between 3 people. Nonetheless, since it was an inaugural US Championship match, we will still reluctantly give it an okay. And in our main event and main headline, we just keep remembering that winning doesn't make you right, as this one broke down like a vintage Roman Reigns match with 2 separate referees biting the dust. But Cody Rhodes is the one, but make no mistake, Rhodes lost this match, or at least he should have lost this match, because after both men were able to avoid their finishers on each other, Owens pushed Rhodes, which unfortunately was right into the referee, knocking him all the way to the floor. But KO did not take his eyes off of the prize and immediately stunned Rhodes for not a 1, 2, 3 count, but all the way up to 6 by the crowd until Owens just decided to sit up because there was no referee to count. So yeah, fortunately a second ref then ran into the ring, but by that point Owens was only able to get a 2 count, so the match continued. But of course, Owens continued to be the better man and avoided a Cody cutter. But of course, Rhodes knocked over that second referee, so at that point KO just had enough, threw Rhodes into the post, and then went and grabbed a steel chair and swung and missed at Rhodes, which gave Rhodes the opening for a Cody cutter, and then landed the crossroads right on top of that chair. And of course, by that point, when Rhodes yelled at the ref, who was still on the floor, it gave him enough time to get up and count to 3. So Rhodes somehow finds a way to get the win and improve to 16-1 in one-on-one matches for his 7th successful title defense. But very Roman Reigns-like, this was just his first defense in 3 long months. And amazingly enough, Owens had the composure to fight this one straight up all the way until the point where he grabbed that chair after 2 refs were taken out. So that means Rhodes got to walk in and out with the Winged Eagle Championship, because I really don't want to see what an eagle is that doesn't have wings, but nonetheless, that title belt looked pretty cool. And Kevin Owens, that means he was the 2s, and he landed a really nice Fisherman's Buster off of the middle rope, but unfortunately that somehow didn't knock out Rhodes. But when he did knock out Rhodes, there was of course no ref, so unfortunately for him, he falls to 4-1 in one-on-one matches, but he can at least take comfort in the fact that he still was right. But yeah, Roman Reigns' shenanigans really gets my eyes a little bit dusty here, so this one is nothing but a double not okay. And after all that, we still have some matches from SmackDown, so let's just keep acting a monster as Braun Strowman is the ones, as he proved to be the mystery opponent for Carmelo Hayes, and he quickly caught Hayes off of the top rope and immediately hit the running power slam to get the win. So he gets a win in his first match in 2.5 months to go to 5-1 on one-on-one matches, while Carmelo Hayes was clearly not ready for Strowman and quite frankly was very scared of him. So he was dispatched in no time at all, and Mr. First Round Pick is the first SmackDown superstar to lose 10 one-on-one matches in 2024, so he is 5-10-2 in one-on-one matches. And we'll also note for Strowman, he is the first person to make the switch in the transfer portal, and he also rejected a role as Monster in Pretty Deadly the Musical, but then agreed to be on the Grayson Waller Effect next week on SmackDown. But all of that together, especially for the match just being over before you know it, that's gonna get a not okay. And we also just keep getting impatient as LA Knight picks up a DQ win after Jacob Fatu grabs him from behind, leading to quite a beatdown, but he'll take the win to go to 15-4 in one-on-one matches. But Solo Sikoa is the 2s on this particular night because after he landed a spinning solo on top of the table and then later hit a super kick, well, he called for Fatu a little bit earlier to attack Knight, but after Knight dumped him over the announce table, Fatu finally recovered and carried through on those orders with that attack, costing Solo the DQ loss. So he does fall to 2-7-1 in one-on-one matches. And since you don't have the patience to let these play out, you're gonna get a not okay for the match. But of course it didn't end there, because after Fatu attacked, well, then of course Fatu threw Knight into the barricade and then back into the ring, where all three men beat up Knight until Solo hit him with a Samoan spike. But for some reason, Andrade and Apollo Crews thought it would be a good idea to try to get some revenge from last week. But of course, they were no match for the New Bloodline, so they both paid for it too with Samoan spikes of their own. But Solo, come on man, you need to let these matches actually play out, because that 2-7-1 record is looking pretty shabby, which is not a good sign, because you, in this match, actually tried a couple of Roman Reigns' moves where you hit a drive-by on Knight and then tried to land a Superman punch, but you were countered with a suplex. Now, I am sure you did this because earlier in the night, they showed a pre-tape segment with Roman Reigns challenging you to tribal combat on the premiere of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. So, two things here. Number one, Roman, so now you're willing to show up on a bigger event just because more people are going to be watching it. Yeah, that's really pathetic, since you couldn't bother to show up on SmackDown for 4 straight months. And number two, I don't know what it takes to be able to challenge for tribal combat. But when one person doesn't have a win in singles matches since January at the Royal Rumble, and in fact, no singles matches at all since WrestleMania, he probably should not be allowed to demand tribal combat. But I guess even though Solo usually gets himself disqualified, in tribal combat, he won't be able to do that, so he should clearly have a distinct advantage here with the rest of the New Bloodline. So, you know, he probably doesn't even need that advantage, since Roman doesn't know how to win a match on his own. So I guess Solo should just take this match, and that way he can just wipe the floor with Roman and make him acknowledge him as the tribal chief once and for all. But since Roman has the gall to make such a demand, this is obviously getting a double not okay. But quickly, beyond the mat for SmackDown, Jimmy Uso actually started the show saying he doesn't know what's next for him, but it will be a big year for Big Jim. But he then also immediately took a big claymore to the face as Drew McIntyre was there and he came out of the crowd. That will cost him an 8th fine of the year, but he was allowed to be there because he was going to talk to Aldis about the transfer portal. However, of course, that is getting a not okay. Then we also had dueling black and white pre-tape segments with DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns, with Gargano saying that he just didn't know quite yet what doing whatever it took at the moment meant, but he obviously figured it out last week. And Alex Shelley retorted from the Machine Gun saying that he will prove that they are the teachers and Gargano is just the student when they get their rematch next week for the WWE Tag Team titles. However, if WWE thought that it was cool to make these black and white, or to even have this segment at all, they were wrong. Not okay. And Shinsuke Nakamura also had yet another pre-tape segment. This time he said that he would expose everyone's weaknesses and humiliate them, saying that LA Knight was just the start. And yeah, this was pretty much the same old out of him, so not okay. And we'll also note that Rhodes and Owens were to have the final word before their title match at Saturday night's main event. As you would guess, things broke down into a fight. And since they both pretty much wanted this fight, no STFs there. However, both of them punched several security guards along the way and had to be broken up several times. So they will both get 1 month suspensions, and for laying those hands on these poor security guards, yet again, not okay. If you missed the SportsZu's predictions for Saturday night's main event, make sure to go right on over here to check that out, because I think he's feeling pretty good about himself right now, and he even somehow managed to talk about Hulk Hogan in the very first Saturday night's main event, but with a rather unspectacular SmackDown and pretty good but also not spectacular matches for tonight, we're gonna have to give this one a not okay.